Sarah Mitchell had built an empire from nothing, and she wore that success like armor at 58. She ran the largest manufacturing company in the region, employing over 300 people and answering to no one. Her colleagues whispered that she had ice in her veins, but Sarah preferred to think of it as focus. Romance was for people with time to waste, and Sarah Mitchell never wasted a single moment. The company Christmas party was in full swing when her assistant Jennifer cornered her by the punch bowl. Jennifer was young and hopeful and convinced that everyone needed love in their lives. "Sarah," she said with that determined gleam in her eye, "you need to do something spontaneous for once." Sarah raised an eyebrow over her champagne. "Glass. I run a $40 million company, Jennifer, that requires spontaneity every single day." Not business spontaneity. Jennifer insisted real-life spontaneity, the kind that makes your heart race. "My heart races enough during quarterly reviews," Sarah said dryly. But Jennifer was not backing down. "I dare you," she said, and suddenly the conversation around them went quiet. "I dare you to go on a blind date this Christmas." The room erupted in laughter and encouraging cheers. Sarah felt her carefully constructed walls being tested. She had not gotten where she was by backing down from challenges, even ridiculous ones. Fine Sarah heard herself saying where and when. 2 days later, Sarah found herself driving through a snowstorm, questioning every decision that had led to this moment. The address Jennifer had given her was in the older part of town where houses had front porches and neighbors knew each other's names. Sarah pulled up to a modest 2-story home with warm light glowing from every window. Through the falling snow, she could see a decorated Christmas tree in the front room. She sat in her car for a full 5 minutes. This was absurd. She was a CEO, not a teenager, going on a blind date. But something about the warmth of that house in the cold December night made her turn off the engine. She walked up to the door, her expensive heels crunching in the fresh snow before she could knock the door open. The man standing there was not what she expected. He was tall with graying hair and kind eyes that crinkled at the corners. He wore a simple denim shirt and there was flour on his hands. "You must be Sarah," he said with a gentle smile. "I'm Tom Walker. Jennifer told me you might come, though. She said you probably wouldn't." Sarah found herself smiling despite her nerves. "She told you right, I almost didn't." Tom stepped aside. "Well, I'm glad you proved her wrong. Come in before you freeze." The house smelled like cinnamon and pine. Sarah stepped into the warmth and immediately noticed the little girl sitting by the fireplace. She looked about 6 with blonde curls and curious eyes. "That's my granddaughter," Emma, Tom said softly. "She's spending the holidays with me. Her parents are deployed overseas military family," Sarah said, and Tom nodded. Emma stood up and walked over with the careful politeness of a well-raised child. "Are you Grandpa's friend?" she asked. "I suppose I am," Sarah said, surprising herself with the answer. The evening unfolded in ways Sarah never anticipated. Tom was a retired high school teacher who had lost his wife 3 years earlier. He spoke about her with such tenderness that Sarah felt something crack in her chest. He had spent his life shaping young minds while Sarah had spent hers building a business empire. They were complete opposites. Yet, as they talked over the dinner Tom had prepared, Sarah felt herself relaxing in a way she hadn't in years. Emma chattered about her school and her parents and the snowman she wanted to build. Tom listened with complete attention as if her words were the most important thing in the world. After dinner, Emma insisted on showing Sarah her drawing of a Christmas tree. It was crooked and beautiful, and Sarah found herself genuinely praising it. When Emma finally went to bed, Tom and Sarah sat by the fireplace. "So," Tom said, "why did someone like you agree to a blind date?" Sarah was quiet for a long moment, because I realized I've spent 30 years building something impressive, and somewhere along the way, I forgot to build a life. Tom nodded slowly. "I spent 40 years teaching kids about literature and history, and the whole time my wife kept reminding me that the real lessons were at the dinner table. I didn't understand until she was gone." They talked until midnight. Tom told her about his students and the garden he tended in summer. Sarah told him about the fear that drove her and the loneliness she pretended didn't exist. When Sarah finally stood to leave, Tom walked her to the door. The snow had stopped and the world outside looked fresh and new. "Thank you," Sarah said, "for taking a chance on this ridiculous dare." Tom smiled. "Best dare I ever accepted." As Sarah drove home, she felt different, lighter somehow. Over the next 2 weeks, she found herself driving back to Tom's house. She helped Emma build that snowman. She sat in Tom's kitchen learning to bake cookies and burning the first 3 batches. She laughed more than she had in years on Christmas Eve. Sarah made a decision. She showed up at Tom's door not with expensive gifts, but with something more valuable: her time and her open heart. Tom opened the door and his smile was everything. Emma squeaked with joy and hugged Sarah's legs. "You came," she said. "I came," Sarah replied, looking at Tom. "And if you'll have me, I'd like to keep coming." Tom reached for her hand. "I think that can be arranged." As they stood in the doorway, with snow beginning to fall again, Sarah realized something profound. She had spent her whole life thinking strength meant standing alone. But real strength, she now understood, was having the courage to let someone stand beside you. The CEO who thought blind dates were a joke had found something she never knew she was missing. Not in a boardroom or a business deal, but in a modest house with a kind man and a little girl who needed an extra grandmother figure in her life. Sometimes the best things in life come not from careful planning, but from saying yes to one ridiculous Christmas dare. If this story warmed your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment below about a time when taking a chance led you somewhere unexpected. Your stories matter, and I'd love to hear them.